Hubble launched with a hairline error in the polishing that ruined everything. When Hubble went up, it was supposed to remove all the distortion of Earth's atmosphere from the imaging, but when it got to orbit, all the pictures were blurry. Nobody caught the flaw before launch, and by the time NASA announced it on June 27, 1990, just 2 months after liftoff, the telescope had become a national laughingstock. Comedians mocked it on late-night TV, and the Naked Gun movie even pictured Hubble alongside the Titanic and the Hindenburg as famous disasters. The issue was so precise that most people couldn't even see it. The edge of Hubble's primary mirror was too flat by about 2.2 microns, which is roughly 1/50th the thickness of a human hair. This tiny error caused spherical aberration, meaning light didn't focus to a single point. Instead of sharp images, astronomers saw blurry stars surrounded by halos of fuzzy light. I would have just replaced the mirror, but that would have cost tens of millions of dollars. What they did instead was brilliant. NASA developed COSTAR, Corrective Optics Space Telescope Axial Replacement. They sent up a telephone booth-sized device filled with mirrors of different sizes mounted on robotic arms, some as small as a US nickel coin. The space shuttle went up and attached it, and it cleared up all the imaging. It cost several times less than replacing the mirror would have. Once they fixed it, they focused Hubble on an empty part of space and let it stay there long enough to discover that part of space was not empty. It was actually full of thousands of galaxies, not stars, but galaxies. We had speculated that there were other galaxies, but we had no actual proof until Hubble provided the images. The sheer number of galaxies out there is humbling. Every time we make a new discovery, we discover just how small we are to the totality of creation. Lyman Spitzer wrote a paper back in 1946 about using mirrors to create a space telescope in orbit. He figured if you could remove atmospheric distortion, you could see 10 times further away. Then Edwin Hubble proved that other galaxies actually existed. And when they built the telescope decades later, they named it after him. One came up with the concept, and the other provided mathematical proof of concept. The assumption was that the universe was slowing down, that gravity was pulling everything back together since the Big Bang. But they discovered it is not. The universe is actually accelerating outward, which was not what they expected to find. That shocked the scientific community. Nobody knew why the expansion was speeding up, and they still don't. They call it dark energy, and it remains one of the great mysteries in astronomy. Hubble has made 1.7 million observations of 55,000 celestial targets. That's 1.7 million images where they focused on space for long periods of time to let as much light and radiation in as they could capture. The telescope doesn't see in color. They colorize these images after the fact so we can understand what we're looking at. Somebody had to hand paint the details to bring them to life, though I'm sure it's all digitized now. I worry about one thing though. When they started using computers to combine imagery from multiple telescopes, they started using AI technology to add details the computers expected to see, whether those details were actually there or not. I don't know what they do, if anything, to prevent that from happening with Hubble. Nobody came to me and said, "Hey, Blade, what you think about this?" But it's worth thinking about. If the computers start adding code to hone in on something they think they see, they could cause scientists to see what they expect to see, regardless of whether it's actually there. The Hubble still flies around 375 miles up in the air. It's been repaired 5 times, and there's a new telescope called the James Webb Space Telescope that launched December 25th of 2021. They work together because they can both focus on the same spot in the galaxy and collect more light. The computers coordinate the imaging from both telescopes,